Welcome to the Engage Employees to Achieve Business Results conference call. My name is Robert, and I will be your operator for today's call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session. Please note that this conference is being recorded. Please also note that there will be a video played during today's webcast. The audio for this video will come through your computer speakers. Please ensure that your computer speakers are turned on and turned up to hear the video. I would now like to turn the call over to Ms. Dana Galvin-Lancor. You may begin.
Well, thank you, and thanks to the ASCC for having me here today to join you guys and talk about employee engagement. Just to kind of let you guys know how this presentation was put together, I work for Barton Malow Company. We're a large general contractor based out of Southfield, Michigan, and we have 13 offices nationwide. I previously to being in what I do now, I did marketing for the company. And about 2 years ago, our new president took over, Ryan Maybach, and at the time I was doing marketing and PR and external communications, and he asked me if I would get involved in more of internal communications and employee engagement to really help achieve our business goals. And when he first said that to me, it didn't really sound that good. I actually told him no first, but he's pretty convincing, and I guess when the president asks you to do something, you shouldn't say no. So that was 2 years ago. Now what I do every day is to make sure that employees understand what our goals here are at Barton Malow, how their role helps to achieve those goals, and just really making sure that we are sharing as much information as possible and being consistent in our messaging. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about our story. I'm going to start by talking about really why this is so important for a company of any size, no matter if there's 5 of you or there's 5,000 of you. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we measure our success, how we deem whether or not what we're doing is good or not so good, and I'm also going to share with you the things that we decided to do to get our employees engaged and to really drive our business results. So just to kind of start off, I do have a couple of assumptions that I'm making for you guys, and when we get to Q&A, if you don't agree with my assumptions or if you want to talk about those, totally open to it. But the first assumption I'm going to make about everyone that's on the call is that you feel as though every person in your firm contributes to the firm's overall success. So whether that be your administrative assistant or your front desk person to, the highest principal, president, CEO, whoever, and everyone in between, they all help your business run. So, and be successful in some way, shape, or form. And the only other assumption I'm going to make is that every single person in your company is on the same team. So that's really important, especially for us at Barton Malow. We all have to, with having 13 offices, we have 1,500 employees, we have job sites all over the place. The ultimate thing is we are all Barton Malow and we're all on the same team. So those are the two assumptions I'm going to make. Now I want to talk a little bit, I said I was going to talk about kind of why this was important. So Stephen Covey has a book called The Eighth Habit. And in The Eighth Habit, he describes a poll he did of 23,000 employees from all different types of companies and industries. He reported his findings throughout the book, but there's some really interesting things that he found. The first thing he found is 37% of those 23,000 people had a clear understanding only 37% had a clear understanding of what their organization was trying to achieve and why. So 23,000 employees, if that's your company, less than half of them know what your company is trying to achieve and why they're trying to achieve it. Of those 23,000, only 1 in 5 were actually enthusiastic about their teams and organization's goals. Only 1 in 5 had a clear line of sight between the tasks they did every day and those team and organization's goals. Only 15% felt like their organization fully enabled them to execute those key goals. And only 20% fully trusted the organization that he or she worked for. So those statistics are pretty small. If you took those 23,000 employees and you condensed them down to an 11-person soccer team, those same stats would basically mean that only 4 of the 11 players on the field would know which goal is theirs. Only 2 of the 11 would care. Only 2 of the 11 would know what position they played and know exactly what they are supposed to do. And all but 2 players, in some way, would be competing against their own team members rather than the opponent. So imagine if that 11-person soccer team was your organization. And then, again, let's go back to the beginning assumptions. So hopefully that kind of, lights up a bulb in your head like, hey, this, we're all working together for the same company, we're all in the same team, but not everyone is totally in the game, then we have a problem. If we took those statistics, kept those in mind, I just wanted to also mention this survey that came from Inc. magazine in August 2010, where employees were asked, like, what's most important to you about your company? I just noticed that my slide is not numbered correctly, that I may have messed up there. That slide's supposed to be listed 1 through 10. But the main thing is the top 2 things that employees want, they want to know what their purpose is as an organization, and they want to know what the goals of the organization are. Number 10 is compensation. Well, a lot of people may say, oh, people leave for money. That's typically not always the reason. There's a lot of reasons why people choose to go to another company, and compensation is not always the number 1 reason. In fact, in this survey, when employees were asked what they want, compensation was actually number 10, and there was a whole lot of things that came before that you can control more easily and also won't be as costly to a company. So I also wanted to mention about this presentation that it's been a little bit redeveloped based on a presentation that I did with a very good friend in the industry named Laura Ewan, and she works for an architectural firm called RTKL. And Laura and I were kind of put into the same types of positions within our company at the same time. So we started doing research together. We wrote an article about this topic. And then we also presented this topic for another organization. And in doing all of those things, we were able to interview employees from both of our companies to talk about engagement in our companies and how it worked. So I wanted to show you a little clip at this time that actually highlights their Director of Human Resources and our President talking about why employee engagement is so important. So this would be the time where if you are at your computer and you can turn up the speaker, you should do it. And this is the only movie that's in the entire presentation, and it'll also be made available later on if you're not able to watch it now, but you want to watch it later. So turn it on, and I'm going to click to this movie right now. It's only about a minute and a half.
Well, I think initially when people move around, they are maybe making decisions based on financial implications. I get more money, I get a sign-on bonus, I get participation in the company stock and everything else. And I always say all of us could go work somewhere else for more money potentially if we put our resume out there. But I think what keeps us in a place It's relationships. It's whether I like my boss, my coworkers. It's whether the company embodies my values, whether it's going in the direction that I want to go, whether I make an impact. And so it's more personal. And I think corporate culture is all about that. So there's a very, very close connection between corporate culture and retention and me wanting to be here to make a difference.
The primary basis of engagement is that we're all better the more context that we have, the more that we understand why we're doing what we're doing. Engagement is critical to driving change and both helping to understand needs for change and what's working and what's not working well in the organization. And then as well, going back to that key word of context, being able to provide context as to why things are changing and the roles that each individual can play in the change. Change is unique to each and every person, and so in some way, shape, or form, what you model is, or what you create as far as engagement has to be able to relate to each individual and help provide that context to a degree, person by person.
I think that communication is able to connect with employees.
Okay, so Sandra and Ryan both talked about some of the reasons why they think engagement is important. Ryan talks a lot about context and making sure employees have context and understand how their project or their daily task might play into the bigger picture. So for us at Barton Malow, when we started to really dive into this topic and dive into how we wanted to do it, we started, putting together a plan and working on our plan. And some of the questions that we asked ourselves is, does every person in our company know what our goals are, know what we're trying to achieve? Do they know why Barton Malow exists every single day? And whether it be a person, one project manager who's on a remote job site in Louisiana to, a project engineer that might be on a big $300 million hospital project in Michigan, all of those people should have a similar message and understand, what our direction is. The other reason why engagement became very important to us at Barton Malow is, we realized that we're in a really interesting time. We started this as the economy was trying to crawl out of the recession, and, I think some will say that it still is. But we're all working with this more with less attitude. We're still feeling the effects of the 2008 downturn and this much higher competition, lower fees. At the same time, we still have 4 different generations in the workplace. So we have people who probably thought they might be retired by now still there, and we also have new people coming in at the same time. So trying to juggle what are the messages internally and how are those messages received by the different individuals? What does it mean to a 23-year-old engineer versus, someone who's been with our company for 25 years? And then also, people are moving around from different companies a lot right now. I think they're still trying to get their bearings. So making sure that as people join Barton Malow, what does it feel like? What do they see when they first come on? Do they know what our goals are? How do they know what our goals are? So making sure that the message was consistent across the board was really important. I will say that anything you do, when there's an element of change, it does take a lot of time in any organization, no matter how big or small it is. So, Ryan, as you can see, Ryan's a little bit younger of a president. His dad had a much different style. His dad is still our chairman. So there's been some times where there's things that Ryan would want to do that Ben not necessarily was as open to doing. So, but this was a new direction that we are going in, and that element of change was very. Everyone takes it on personally. It feels very different for everyone. So understanding that It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable when you start doing things like this, but in the long run, seeing it through, it can really positively impact you. And now I'm going to talk about a little bit about how we figure out if it's impacting us well or not. So the way that we chose to measure engagement is through a culture survey called the Denison Survey. This company is actually based out of Ann Arbor, but we are connected with the Denison Survey through FMI, which some people are using FMI as a consultant throughout the construction industry. But you can actually work directly with Denison. You don't have to go through any consultant as well. So the Denison Survey measures organizational culture on these four different categories. That wheel with the color in the middle, the fuller the color is, the more engaged, the more high-performing your culture is, the more engaged of a workforce you have. Interestingly enough, on average, a highly engaged workforce return back to the company is generally about 22%, whereas a low-performing culture or a lower engaged workforce is returning on average 3 to 5%. So those are real numbers. There is data out there that can substantially say that if you have a high-performing culture, if you have a high-performing workforce, you're going to make more money as an organization. So for us, the way we're measuring it is on this Denison scale. And the first year we did it was in 2011, and I'm going to show you those results for 2011. So in 2011, we were just starting to talk about engagement. We really didn't roll out very many programs or really do anything specifically. This was like our jumping off point. So you'll see, where we're really lacking is actually in the mission category. That's in the red. There's adaptability, involvement, consistency. You'll see also on the outside there's specific, 12 areas total. So under mission, there's strategic direction and intent, goals and objectives, and vision. In involvement, there's things like team collaboration, empowerment, capabilities, and development. So after we got the 2011 results, we decided we needed to focus mostly on strategic direction and intent. That was our lowest scoring element, and obviously your strategic direction and intent is probably one of the most important things in your organization. And to get everyone at least on the same boat, that's where we decided to start. So in doing that, that became kind of our mission, not only to define the employee engagement, but then what were things that we are going to do to enhance it throughout the organization. So for us, everyone can define employee engagement in different ways. You can read a million articles, but these are the 6 things that we wanted to do. We wanted to connect everyone's role to the company's purpose. We are going to have very honest, clear communication and feedback. We are going to focus on teamwork. We are going to focus on opportunity for learning and development. We are obviously going to focus on inclusion and context because that was probably one of Ryan's number 1 things. And then we really believe at Barton Malow that employees are very much tied to their managers, and employees, if you have a great manager, that makes you have a great work experience. So we wanted to focus on developing our managers to be the best that they could be. So how did we do that? Well, we started with our core purpose and values. At the time, we did have a set of core values, so it wasn't about just throwing away everything that we used to have. It was kind of looking at our core values, talking about them, making sure that they made sense. We did change up 2 of them. We didn't really change them. We just changed the word. It kind of means a little bit of the same thing. But we also took time to define our core values. So there's a lot of companies out there who have integrity as a core value, and that's great. But at Barton Malow, our core value of integrity means, there's 3 bullets underneath. The first one is making the right and fair decision in every situation. It means demonstrating consistency between words and actions, and it means, it means honoring all commitments. So we not only stated what our core values are, we stated what each of our core values meant. We also rolled out our core purpose, which is building with the American spirit, people, projects, and communities. That was kind of a controversial core purpose when we first rolled it out, because people questioned why we were saying building with the American spirit, just because, everyone wants to be a global company at this point. Well, for us, Barton Malow was built, started in Michigan. We're celebrating our 90th anniversary this year. It was built from the ground up. It was truly built in an entrepreneurial fashion. We're 100% employee-owned. We're 100% American-owned. So for us at Barton Malow, our core purpose is to build with the American spirit. No matter where we're building, we're going to do it with the American spirit. People, projects, and communities. We also establish our long-term goal, which is on the right-hand side of that slide, where we want to build innovative and trust-based solutions to double efficiency by our 100th anniversary, which is in 2024. Again, another kind of internally controversial statement about what is our long-term goal. Well, the thing was, number one, we didn't have a long-term goal before, and number two, now we have one, and now we just have to figure out exactly what it meant. Because a lot of people wanted to know, what does double efficiency mean? Does that mean you're going to do it with less people? You're going to do it with half the people? Does that mean you're going to do double the work with the same amount of people? While it was great for us to put it out there, we didn't necessarily realize that people were going to ask that question, but it gave us the opportunity to discuss it further and to talk about it further and to have internal conversations about it where, officers could sit down with their teams, the directors could sit down with their teams and say, hey, what do you think that means? How would you like to see that happen? The cool thing is it helped us to take that and take the long-term goal and take it a step further, where we have specifically outlined initiatives, which you'll see on the left-hand side there, with how we see we are going to double efficiency. 2024 is still 10 years away, and we know that you don't just double efficiency by snapping some fingers. You have to, figure out exactly how you're going to do it and what that entails. And so that gave us the opportunity to really define it and give us all something in this company to work towards I hope to be here by 2024. I think most other people do too. So we know what we're working towards in the long term. The way we rolled out all of this stuff is really important when it comes to, having that honest, clear communication and feedback. You'll see on the right-hand side, that's a picture of our atrium, of our headquarters here in Michigan. And so rolling out that core purpose and values, it's not something that you can just, throw on in an email to people or say it once and then never talk about it again. It's definitely something that has to be talked about over and over again so that people understand it. So when we rolled out our core values, we did it at an all-employee meeting at our headquarters. That's the picture that you see on the right-hand side. For our all-employee meetings, all of our Midwestern employees, which is about 60 to 70% of our employee base, is in the Midwest. They all come to headquarters. The rest of them are webcasted in. And we talked about the core purpose and values. We talked about why we did it. We showed the Denison results. You see the banner of the core purpose and values hanging from our third floor atrium. We rolled that banner out, and Ben, our chairman and CEO, and Ryan, our president, and all of our board members got on stage and talked about why they decided to do this, why this was important to them, and what the core values meant to them. And I think that's really key to any employee engagement activity, is that leadership in the company needs to stand behind it and be very, very much supportive of it. And it was certainly evident for us that our board took a lot of time in helping to redevelop these things, and that they were going to stand behind them. So we rolled it out at the all-employee meeting. Everyone got little cards that stand up on their desk that have the core values on them. We handed out cups, the plastic cups that you fill up with water, and so they could have that wherever they went. There's posters sent to every job site. We also do monthly emails from Ryan. Ryan and I work together on writing those each month. And for the first year, every single time he sent out an email, in some way he mentioned the core values or tied it back to our core values or a long-term goal. He would talk about business results. He would talk about recent wins. He would talk about, we did have a series of layoffs that he talked about, but everything always tied back to the core values and what we are trying to accomplish and why we were doing what we are doing within the organization. We also, not only when we were doing the rollout of the core values, but even today, we do peer group meetings. And I'll talk a little bit about that more later, but it definitely opens up the channels of communication. We also did a series of videos, which we produced in-house. We have a camera here and someone in marketing that handles all of that work, where we related our core values to different people and projects and our work in the community to the values. So that picture you see is where you would click on our internal website. You would click on that video and you would see the staff at the Emory University. We were doing a kitchen renovation, about $1.5 million project, and the team had implemented some really cool technology tools that allowed them to partner much better and much easier with all of the subcontractors that we were involved with, as well as the owner, the architect, and the engineers. So we did a story about that and put a little 3-minute video together talking about that and how that aspect of what we were doing related to our core value of partnership. I talked about teamwork, and when you have 1,500 employees and you have all these offices and job sites everywhere, we have really strong project teams, but we didn't have as strong of kind of internal teams of people working on things together. So something that we continue to work on today is this idea of communities of people who are, aligned towards a common goal or a common job, who can get together and talk about things, talk about best practices, talk about lessons learned, develop some type of case study, white paper, some type of learning seminar, and then roll it out to all employees in the organization. And we've started that by putting together a few different communities, but the one that is really just kicking butt and taking off is our applied technology community. It's made up of about 15 individuals from throughout the company, from all over the country, and they get together on a biweekly call, and then they get together meeting in person on a quarterly basis to talk about the different technologies that we're using on job sites, if they're working, if they're not working. They're developing case studies to talk about if it's a good idea to use this in the future, or if it's even a good idea to implement it into every single Barton Malow project. And then they're rolling that out to the companies through knowledge sharing sessions. So these all these individuals have full-time jobs. They're project managers, project engineers, they're pre-construction people. I don't know if any of you guys know Mario Garza. He's our director of pre-construction, who's involved in ASCC pretty heavily. He's on the applied technology community. But the cool thing is all of these people are very much dedicated to enhancing the use of technology to better our projects, make our projects more efficient, and really provide true value to the owner. It's not about having the coolest, shiniest new computer or newest software. It's about making sure that the things that we're doing here are helping us to reach that long-term goal of doubling efficiency. When it comes to providing opportunities for learning and teamwork, this is really where the staffing component comes in, and also making sure that we're lining up the right staff with the right opportunities, and making sure that they're all feeling like their careers are flourishing at Barton Malow. So in terms of looking at more flexible work schedules, more job sharing capabilities where, hey, we can work together on this job, and then I'm going to teach you how to do this, and then you'll be able to apply it to the next job. And making sure that our employees are being cross-trained so that, so that people aren't specialists right away in their careers. While we all want to get to a point where we are specialists in a certain topic and are considered a thought leader, we wanted to make sure early on that a lot of our engineers are seeing all the different market types, all the different delivery methods, and then being able to apply what they learn on one job site to another. So that's where the learning and development opportunity comes in. We talked a lot about inclusion and context, and that started with just making sure that when we hire, that the employee understands, like, as a Barton Malow employee, you're going to be a very collaborative person, that, we want you to deliver the best project to the owner, but we want you to do it in a very collaborative way and, working all together. So we kind of call that the price of admission to work at Barton Malow. And then when it comes to the managers, we do have expectations of managers. So we developed a leadership model, and then all of our development and all of our leadership development is based on our leadership model. So we have an organizational psychologist on staff who's in charge of development for all of our employees, and he works on the curriculum for everyone who is a manager in some way, shape, or form. We started with officers. They went through a development program. We then moved on to directors, the director level, which is just under officers at Barton Malow, and then we've since moved on to managers who are right under the director levels. So everyone is learning kind of a similar curriculum when it comes to, best-in-class leadership. There's different topics that we learn based on level, where we get a little bit deeper into some areas than others. But it's really helped everyone kind of get on the same page in terms of what are the expectations to be a leader at Barton Malow. Well, like, as a leader, I have to be able to build relationships internally and externally. I need to be able to set direction. I need to be able to work with other people throughout the organization to align resources and share resources. So many times it's hard to make sure that we can share, different resources that we have with one another, whether it be staff or materials or equipment. So we did all of these things in the first year. We started them. We worked on some of them. Most of them are still going on. I would say that the values videos that we just did for the first year, but we still talk about values all the time, certainly in the leadership development realm. So we did all of that, and then we took that Denison survey again. And these were the results the second year. So you'll see that we definitely were able to achieve a much higher results in all areas. The area we focused on, that strategic direction and intent, we jumped by 31 points to be exact. So we are very, very happy with those results. But interestingly enough, our goal is to take this survey every year. So we did take it in the fall of 2013. We analyzed the results. We just actually shared our results internally about a month ago. So I'm not ready to share it with the world yet, but we're certainly getting better. We continue to achieve more. We continue to focus on areas, and we continue to be successful in moving up in each of those categories. Part of our goal towards doubling efficiency is making sure that we remain in the top 75% or higher in each of these Denison categories. So the survey is built right into the long-term goal. We'll continue to take the survey at least for the next 10 years for sure, and maybe beyond. We'll see about that. But like I said, it's a really good way for us to be able to measure how we're doing with our engagement. Finally, something we worked on a lot last year as part of our efficiency goals and our engagement goals was a business model exercise. And I think that if there's one thing that every company could do, no matter what the size, if there's one thing I could tell them to do, I think this is what I would tell them to do. I think all businesses, especially when things get a little interesting and, the economy takes a dive and, we're always looking for more work. So we tend to just go for whatever we can. What's out there, what's available, whether we forget about does it make sense or not, do we have the right people, do we have the right portfolio, do we have the right resources. We just, it's that quest to win. And Barton Malow is no different. I mean, we've had that challenge in the past. So something we did as it relates to our long-term goal and our focus was we created a business model, and we're working on our business model, and right now we have a business model through 2016. It's not to say that it might not get tweaked, but basically at least it's there. And what it's done is been able to kind of focus us in on what are our services that we're going to offer, what markets are we looking at, what geographies, what market are we looking at based on a certain geography, what is our expectation when it comes to project size and fee. Do we have a chance at winning that job? If we don't have a chance, should we really go after it? Should we really put the money and time into going after a project that we have no chance at winning when there's these two projects over here that we have a much better chance at winning and differentiating ourselves and getting a higher fee at? So this has been part of our exercise over the past year that we focused on, and I would have to say that it's really encouraging as just a typical employee to see something like this, and as someone who's been in marketing in the past, to see something like this and to see people really being true to it and saying no to bid opportunities, because there's 5 other ones that are much better for us to really focus ourselves on. So I think setting that direction and alignment, at least as it pertains to the kind of work that you're going to chase, and how you're going to chase it and who you're going to chase it with can go a long way in helping to keep those employees engaged and keep everyone working towards that common goal and purpose and achieving the business results that you want to. So with that, I want to turn it over to Q&A, and I think, Robert, you're going to lead that, and I'm open to any and all questions.
Thank you.
I also put
we
my
will now
contact
begin.
information up here. Sorry, I also just
Thank
put
you.
my contact information up here. If you don't want to do Q&A now, you can call me or email me at any time.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you have a question, please press 0, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. If you wish to be removed from the queue, please press 0, then 2. If you are using a speakerphone, you may need to pick up the handset first before pressing the numbers. Once again, if there are any questions, please press 0, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. Standing by for questions. And I'm showing no questions in the queue at this time.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm still showing no questions. Did you have any final thoughts you'd like to make?
No final thoughts right now, but, if questions come up, please feel free to email me, call me, tweet at me. I'm always open for questions or suggestions or brainstorming, and I just want to thank everyone for having me today and listening to me.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.